I think the most important factor that has brought about a change in India's attitude towards Pakistan and an attempt to cool the tension down is the factor of China. India faces potentially a two-front situation with Pakistan on one side and China on the other. And of course, we know there have been very serious skirmishes on the China-India border. So I think apart from anything else, India has come to realize that they can't afford to take on both China and Pakistan. So I think that is what has prompted this truce at the LOC.
I think it started with de-escalation with China. Then secondly, we know that COVID is still prevailing in South Asia. We also know the economies have been affected. So I think better sense prevailed in both the countries, where neither country really wants an escalation of violence at this stage. And therefore, it's a good step if both the countries step back from their preconditions. The Indian precondition was we will not do anything with Pakistan till terrorism ends. And the Pakistani precondition was that you go back to status quo ante on Jammu and Kashmir, which means restore statehood, restore Article 370, and so on and so forth.
In this particular case, to me, it was very obvious that because they were getting a bad name all over because of the last 18 months in Kashmir, because of the Citizen Act in India. Domestically, there was some opposition. But essentially, for the first time in the international organizations, the human rights and all the others, they were targeting India. And then, of course, Biden's election may have played a role. I do not know that.
If India and Pakistan can cooperate on an Afghan peace, and they can both sit together in Istanbul and also in the UN conference and jointly take part and hopefully work out some of their own differences. Remember, if India and Pakistan are sitting in the same conference, there's every chance that they're going to talk to each other, and I think that will be of enormous benefit. So we have to wait and see, but I think the Indian policy has to be clarified, and they have to take a more diplomatic target as regarding the Taliban and the other groups.
Look, the US would want that the relationship between India and Pakistan should normalize, so that Pakistan is able to pay attention to what they want done in Afghanistan, which is a transition to the post-withdrawal of US troops situation, and where there is both sides, that is the Taliban and the ruling government there, they are able to have reconciliation. For that, US has laid down, President Biden has laid down 2 steps. Now, one is a meeting to be hosted by Turkey, to which India has been invited. Now, that's also a significant thing, because till now, India had been cut off any regional initiative. Even the Russians were not willing to invite India to the meeting that they just had. So the Americans insisting that India is part of that regional group is obviously after talking to Pakistan and making Pakistan agree.
No, there is no connection there. That is strictly between the Afghans, the Americans, and to an extent the regional states, which includes Pakistan, Iran, and countries in the north and west. India, we will not. India is a factor, but India is a spoiler there. India's main interest would be that that place must remain a little in turmoil.
Well, they have recognized that the truce is on, and they've kept it, both countries have kept it at the military level. Neither country at the moment is talking about rapprochement at the political level or in foreign policy level. So you're right there. The fact is that at the moment the two armies are wanting to maintain their policies and but they're not willing to extend the rapprochement to the civil sector.
Look, there are elections in India. At the moment, I think the government is very busy with an extremely important election in West Bengal, Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. Now, some of these are very big states, and particularly for BJP, West Bengal is extremely important if they're able to win that election. So at this stage, they don't want to take any step which will distract from that or become an issue which opposition may take up. They don't want a distraction.
For us, it was important that the casualties on the line, on both sides of the line of control, were either eliminated, minimized, or one did something about it. As far as the peace agreement is concerned, I am not sure there was one, and there cannot possibly be one unless, we'll find out if, India has come to that stage in which it says it's going to abandon its old policy of 60, 70 years of maintaining a status quo. And if, God forbid for them, if the peace has to be restored or peace has to be achieved in Kashmir, then they'll have to make sacrifices that they'll find very difficult.
I think the problem really now is that it's India's initiative. Pakistan did not bring about this terrible situation between India and Pakistan. India did. And to improve the situation, India has to change its policy. And it has to start giving concessions on the political level. That means, of course, the water dispute, trade, tackling the virus, which both countries could do much better if they were cooperating with each other rather than being singly trying to tackle it. And so unless we move into the political, social, economic sphere between the two countries, things will remain very much the same.
In any relationship, when there's been tension and a lot of water has flown down Jhelum and down Yamuna, you can't just go back to where you were, because many of those things have still not been addressed. Some Pakistan has addressed, but bringing all whom India considers responsible for 9/11 to justice fully, I don't think India would be fully satisfied with what Pakistan has done. But yes, there are steps which have been taken in Pakistan. At the same time, Pakistan has certain expectations on what India should do in Jammu and Kashmir, whether India will do it or at what stage will do it. Now, nowhere in the world do you deal with disputes and CBMs at the same time. The idea is that CBMs lead you to having greater trust in each other, and it then simplifies the solving of disputes. But if you know, till we solve the Kashmir issue, we are not going to do anything else, then obviously that's not going to work. And that's what happened over the last 2 decades.
As far as the normalization is concerned, if the level of normalization can be pre-Bombay, it can also go back to, Vajpayee's time. It can also come forward to, Manmohan Singh's time. So it's not the normalization that I ever talk about. I usually say, if you can manage a particular situation in which there is some sort of a breathing space for the two countries and the Kashmiris, well, that is something that we have tried to do very many times. Of course, one succeeds, but then also it is always a transitionary, a temporary one, because the actual problems remain.